Shabbat Shalom, my friends, and Chag Samayach. Today, Saturday, is the second day of the festival of Shavuot, according to most Jewish calendars in the diaspora. On the first day of Shavuot, Friday, Jews around the world read the Ten Commandments as we celebrated the revelation of Mount Sinai. The assigned reading for the diaspora on the second day, which this year coincides with Saturday, is not extraordinarily interesting. It is kind of dry. So I have made an executive decision. All of us watching this teaching on Facebook and on YouTube are we're going to try to pretend that we live for a moment in Eretz Israel. Not a bad dream, right? And so we will explore the Cedra known as NASO, Numbers chapter 4, beginning with verse 21. This courageous move will put us on of alignment for a brief while with the Torah assignments in the diaspora, but keep us current with the Torah cycle in Israel. To be honest, many Reformed congregations in North America are doing this exact thing. Okay, NASO. It's a rich and wonderful Cedra that is also deeply troubling and profoundly mystifying. If a woman is accused of being unfaithful to her husband, then she is to undergo a trial by fire. More accurately, a trial by drinking a noxious liquid. If she is guilty, she will have demonstrably unpleasant reactions. If she is innocent, then the liquid won't affect her at all. This woman is called Sota, the accused adulteress. And I need to point out that the man perhaps involved in this situation need not undergo any public exposure or ordeal. Then there is the Birkat Kohanim and the Cedra, the threefold priestly benediction. This is one of the most celebrated passages in the Torah, celebrated by Jews and by non-Jews as well. Even though, to be truthful, the rabbis are troubled by the question, who really has the spiritual sacred authority to bless someone else? And finally, the Nazarite, someone who willingly takes a vow of abstinence for a set period of time. Is it a good thing to abstain from good things in life? Why do we have grapes if abstaining from wine is considered to be a step toward a higher level of spiritual awareness? Something else. Near the end of the Cedra, the last few words, Moses opens up something which might be called a secure line of communication with God. Of course, Moses in his day did not have Alexa lurking nearby, sharing his chats with God with the folks back at headquarters. Can you even imagine Moses and God being interrupted by a commercial? Okay, so let's just focus. What's going on with the Nazarite? Let me immediately correct my persistent Google spell check nemesis. When I write Nazarite, Dr. Google, I actually mean Nazarite. I don't mean Nazarene. That refers to Jesus, not involved in what we're doing. The institution of the Nazarite apparently existed in the days before the Torah was written. Among many communities, the notion of someone choosing to abstain from wine, from cutting their hair, from being in the presence of a corpse was widespread. Being an ascetic was considered to be a statement of spiritual elevation. Someone who denies themselves the ordinary pleasures of life was thought to be lifting themselves above the ordinary. Now, Judaism never went to the extreme of creating and honoring a monastic lifestyle, a lifestyle of denial. The one glaring exception, do you know what it is? The one glaring exception to this would seem to be the Dead Sea community known as the Essenes. We don't know all that we would like to know about the Essenes, but they seem to have abandoned the cities, the company of others. They may even have chosen celibacy. Our Cedra sets the basic ground rules for being a Nazarite. Being a Nazarite is a status that one chooses for oneself. Being a Nazarite is almost always very time limited, maybe 30 days. Being a Nazarite is somehow a sinful state, because at the end of the committed period, the individual must bring a sin offering to God. By the way, one can expand the conditions of being a Nazarite and add some further restrictions. Okay, abstaining from wine. All right, we can get that. From the time of Noah, it was well known that wine can addle the mind and lead to regrettable behaviors. And avoiding being in the presence of a corpse is also a restriction placed upon the Kohanim. You know that Kohanim, even today, will never walk into a cemetery or be in a funeral home when the corpse is present. But what about the requirement to avoid cutting one's hair? The most famous Nazarite in the Bible was Samson. And we all know that when Delilah cut his hair, Samson was crushed in body and in spirit. What's with hair? We all know that Orthodox women today will not show their hair in public once they have married. The sheitel or wig or perhaps a scarf must always be worn. Orthodox Jews will refer back to the book of Genesis when Rebekah, upon being introduced to Isaac, immediately veiled herself. But did you know that the absolute requirement to have the hair covered didn't emerge until the 14th century? And it wasn't until the 18th century that in some Hasidic communities the norm came to be that married women should have all of their hair cut off after their wedding. It was then declared that a woman displaying her hair violated the ethical norm of tzniut, of modesty. What about a man's hair? Now, I'll tell you the truth, I had to do some research through the online files of Yeshiva University. I found an essay that offered the following guidance to me. Men must avoid dressing like and looking like non-Jews. Jews must especially distance themselves from the popular hair styles of the day. One should always be able to recognize a Jew just by looking at him. Men should not shave the sides of their heads. Shave here and allow the top to grow long, for this is an idolatrous hairstyle. By the way, this is a very popular hairstyle for the young. Today, when we see young men like this, we should really reach out and urge them to do teshuvah. For men and for women, exposed hair or hair styled like non-Jews is licentious and embarrassing. That's why when discussing the sota, remember, elsewhere in our Cedra, the accused adulteress must be brought out in public with her hair uncovered. From the days of the Torah, hair is replete with sexual symbolism. That's something else to toss in here. You know that during a mikveh, the conversion candidate must immerse totally. That totally means that the hair all must be beneath the water. Hair matters. There are Torah norms which do not at all connect with most of us. Rather, how we act and what we value are much more important to us than how we handle our hair. And I say this admitting that my hair is disappearing. And even becoming a temporary Nazarite just seems to most of us, many of us, to lack contemporary spiritual significance. I end with this. Instead of being known by how we dress, let's choose to be known by who we are. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Samayach. I'll see you next week. Be well.